see two diagonal pairs of legs moving in turn. The right front and left hind have green bandages, and the left front and right hind have red bandages. In this clip, the pairs pretty much pick up and set down together. Notice the low head position, as this allows the back to rise. Often horses back up with a tight neck and a high head, and this is likely to lead to a hollow back and poor movement. Ask the horse to back with as little resistance as possible. This horse is moving reasonably straight, although she'll sometimes take the hindquarters to the left if I'm not careful. This is because the reach of the right hind is greater than the reach of the left. The left hind is the weaker hind leg in this horse, so even in this very simple exercise from the ground, I have an early warning of potential future problems. And sure enough, if this endurance horse is ever stiff at the end of a long hilly ride, then it's always the left hind leg. I can reduce the risk of future lameness by including gymnastic exercises and bodywork in my training schedule for this horse. This pony splits both his diagonal pairs of legs in the backup. This is extremely common and is caused by physical problems in the horse or by tension that they're holding. Sometimes the horse has learnt to back up this way. In this case, the pony's pretty soft and relaxed, and I know there are some arthritic changes in the neck, possibly elsewhere, that are very likely causing him to back up in a 4-beat rhythm. By and large, problems with split diagonal pairs are resolved as the horse gets softer, if you have some bodywork done, or you use some gymnastic exercises to get them stronger and more symmetrical. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to get two clean diagonal pairs, but do notice if this is an issue for your horse. And there are plenty of examples where the quality of the reinback can be improved. The reinback's a fantastic exercise for you and your horse. Pause the video and take a moment to answer the question on the screen. There are so many reasons to have a go at the reinback that the next 4 sections take a look at some of them. First of all, this is a relatively safe exercise for you to try because it's slow. You can do just a little bit every day if you want to. You can work from the ground, and you can start with just a weight shift and build to 20 or more steps. You can work in the countryside or around a pattern of bends and turns. The only time to avoid the exercise is if a horse has had recent inflammation of the muscles along the spine. Second, this is a great gymnastic exercise. You're effectively teaching the balance and muscular strength needed for collected gaits by training the muscles of the hindquarters to engage and the muscles of the neck and the core to lift. The lumbosacral junction is the joint between the lumbar spine and the pelvis, and this needs to flex to allow the hind legs to step under the body for engagement. This is indicated by the red arrow above the horse's hindquarters. The iliopsoas are the primary muscles that bring the hind legs forward and are crucial for both the reinback as well as all collected movement. You can see the location of those muscles in the smaller screen. The pectoral muscles on the chest and the brachiocephalic and omotransversarius muscles work together to raise and push back the base of the neck. This is also really beneficial exercise to develop the thoracic sling of the horse to assist them to take the weight off the forehand. The third set of reasons to try this exercise are all to do with feel, timing and relaxation, and I'd like to talk about this in a little more detail. There's a huge crossover between how your horse responds to you on the ground and the way he goes when you're in the saddle. A lot of people don't think all that much about this and see riding and groundwork as 2 separate activities. But problems that you have on the ground, such as too much tension in the body or spooking, will cross over to issues that arise when you're riding. In general, we're very good at using our sense of sight and our vision when we work with horses, but some people put less focus on their feel, which is why I want to talk about this in relation to the reinback. Reinback is a great exercise to use if you want to work on your feel because it's slow, so you have time to notice the changes that take place. You can apply what you learn to everything else you do, and it's a great gymnastic exercise. If you're patient and consistent with your practice, the reinback will help your horse to relax unnecessary tension, and that will benefit everything that you do, not just the backup itself, but also your day-to-day handling and your ridden work, especially speed control and transitions. There are many different techniques for doing the reinback. You could guide the horse backwards with a lead rope or a rein, tap a stick on the horse's shoulder or on the ground, shake a rope or teach them to back away from a finger or a stick, and there are loads more options. None are right or wrong, they're simply different. I want to focus on the feel between the person and the horse in this video, so in order to work on feel, you need to have a physical connection between you and the horse, which is most easily felt through the rein, a lead rope or a hand on the horse. It's only through this contact that you can physically feel the quality of relaxation in the horse. So I'm using techniques to rein back here that focus on the connection. So I'm going to show you a really simple and fun way in which you can experiment a little bit with feel if you have got a friend or an assistant to hand who can give you a hand with this. So I'm going to ask my assistant here to hold out her right arm so it's strong, and she's going to stop me from moving it. So she's all tight and braced to try and stop me moving the arm, and I'm going to come along all tight and braced and I'm going to try and move it. And that's going to look a little bit like that. We're both fighting each other, we're both using a lot of muscular tension to try to do that. So in the second part of this exercise, I'm going to ask my assistant to do exactly the same thing. So if you can hold out your arm again and see if you can make it even stronger this time. I'm going to take a different approach, and this time I'm going to try to use softness to move the arm. So rather than pushing against the tension, I'm trying to find all the little spaces and the openings where it would be possible to get the arm to move without pushing against the tension. And actually, it becomes a lot easier to move the arm when you're working with softness than it is when you're working with muscular tension. And that's a really fun little example for you to try. My thanks go to Mark Rashid for showing me these exercises. He's got a DVD with a number of these exercises on it, and I'll put references to that DVD at the back of this video. Pause the video for a moment and ask yourself, how does this exercise relate to working with horses? So we're working here with this New Forest foal. He's 11 months old, and I know for certain that he hasn't done any backup before. So it might be quite a nice example to start with, to have a look about how we would apply the exercise that we were just looking at between two people when it comes to starting to work with a pony. So I'm going to start off here by taking a feel just to see what we've got going on and how willing or otherwise he's going to be to back up. So one hand is going here onto the halter, and my fingers are going to come here onto his shoulder. And to start with, I just want to feel whether he is going to softly back up or whether he's going to offer me some resistance. And he is offering me a little resistance. So I want to just try to get his weight here up off the forehand, and I'm thinking about his energy coming up here to raise the withers. So with my hand on the halter, my fingers gently are going to see if we can come up. That's all I want to do for now. Release and let him have a think. So just start off slowly. Don't have any great ambitions to back up 20 steps at the beginning. We just want to take it as a weight shift that we can reward before going any further. Same again, hands on the lead rope, fingers on the corner of his shoulder, lift, meet the resistance, and let's just see if we can move that leg, and soften, let him have a think. So it's not yet as soft as I'd like it to be, but he's responding quite nicely given that this is the very beginning. That's pretty nice. Thinking about up and back. And I want to end with him away from me, out of my space. I don't want to end up the exercise with him coming forward into me or pushing on me. If he needs to have a think, blink, lick and chew, I'd like him to do it over there, out of my space, so that this little guy can learn not to come and crowd and barge into a person's space. What you're seeing here is a very common situation in that the horse is holding a lot more muscular tension as he goes backwards than I'd like. This makes it more difficult than it needs to be for both of us, and the horse is not getting the full gymnastic benefit from the exercise as he's recruiting a lot of extra muscles to do the job of backing up. Notice that the diagonal pairs are split because of the tension in the body. To soften up horses like this, it's really useful to quantify the amount of tension that you're feeling. It's hard to know if things are getting better if you don't know where you started or what sort of improvements you want to achieve. I like to use a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is soft and just the weight of the rope, and 10 is the whole weight of the horse pushing against you. So you want the numbers to be as low as possible. Take the lead rein in your hand and feel the resistance coming from your horse as you ask him to back up. Take a moment to give that feel a number. Here I'm feeling at least a 5 for a lot of the time, and he's tight through his head and his neck with too much weight down on the forehand. As it gets heavier and it feels like a 6, I move my hand up and towards the withers to meet the extra pressure. As he softens and the number goes to 4, I relax my hand. If he really softens, I'd stop asking him to back up right away and give him a moment to think about what he's done. Today, I'd be pretty happy with a feel of a 3. It's important to remember that it's not the horse's fault if they're tight and bracy. It's usually humans that have taught them to move like this because they've been pushed on from an early age. If something takes years to install, then it's going to take a while to uninstall. So be patient, as it's going to take a while to soften up a horse that's been bracy for a decade. Slow, consistent work is the key to progress with a horse like this. It's quite common that horses don't back up straight. Usually they'll either swing their hindquarters to the left or to the right and have a preference for one or the other. In this clip, you can see the pony swinging off to the left. The solution is to learn to steer the hindquarters at the same time as you're moving backwards, and then you can fix crookedness as it happens. This figure of 8 exercise will teach you to back, steer, guide the hindquarters, and also teach you a lot of feel, timing, and tact. Because if you push the horse or allow him to get tight, then he'll stop moving backwards and brace against you. In order to turn and back simultaneously, you need to use the head and neck to steer. If you want the hindquarters to move to the left, you move the head and the neck a little to the right. If you want the hindquarters to move right, you move the head and the neck to the left. This is a difficult exercise, so don't be put off if it doesn't work out at the first attempt. Break it down and just work on a small section of a curve rather than the entire figure of 8 shape to start with. Keep the turns very shallow. You may remember the intro clip of this same horse when she had red and green bandages on her legs, that she tends to drift her hindquarters to the left due to a weak left hind leg, so the curve around to the right is really difficult for her. She has to stretch the left hind leg out behind her and bring it towards the midline with a little adduction, which is quite a difficult stretch. If you're not sure about the terms adduction and abduction, then have a look at my turn on the forehand troubleshooting video. You'll find it in my Tilefield Equestrian YouTube channel. In this final section, we look at ways in which you can get creative with the rein back. We look at using poles, what you can do when you're out in the countryside, and how you can use small hills to make the backup more challenging.